The congregation at Parkview Christian Church in Orland Park, Illinois, sat in stunned silence. On the first weekend of April 2025, lead pastor Ted Max stood on stage and abruptly announced his resignation.
That I am not the best long-term fit for this role at Parkview. So today, beginning in this moment, I'm going to be taking a step back from the role of lead pastor.
Just like that, he was gone. Less than 2 years into his role, Pastor Ted said he was not in alignment with the church's board and would be stepping down. His voice was heavy with emotion. He thanked the church for the honor to preach, teach, and lead for 20 months.
Over the last 20 months, it's been an incredible honor for me to get to be here on this stage to preach, teach, and lead our church in this season, and to walk alongside you during this season.
And then dropped, I am not the best long-term fit for this role.
But during that same time, I've been in discussion with the church leadership, and together we have come to an agreement that I am not the best long-term fit for this role at Parkview. And I know that as I make that statement, that raises questions, and I get that.
The crowd was shocked, gasps, confused stares, people asking, what just happened? If everything was going so well, why such an abrupt decision? Was this really just a leadership disagreement? Or was there something deeper going on? Politics, or even worse, a scandal that was being hidden from the congregation? The questions are loud, but the answers still missing. Let's find out what happened. As Pastor Ted finished his announcement, board chairman Randy Mall joined him on stage. The two men stood silently for a moment, heads bowed. Then Randy took the mic, offering the congregation what was clearly meant to be reassurance. Shock quickly gave way to heartbreak and anger among Parkview's members. As soon as the news broke, congregants flooded social media and the church's Facebook page with comments, desperate for an explanation. Posts of the live-streamed service on Facebook received hundreds of comments within hours, an outpouring of emotion ranging from sorrow to outrage. Many churchgoers openly vented their distress over Pastor Ted's departure and their anger at Parkview's mostly faceless board of directors. One longtime member's comment captured the sense of betrayal and disillusionment that many felt. Not sure I want to be a part anymore, the congregant wrote. Pastor Ted is the reason we go now. I don't go for the board. For this member and countless others, Pastor Ted had been the very heart of the church, the person who drew them in and kept them engaged. The idea that a behind-the-scenes board could prompt his exit left them distraught. Another churchgoer's frustration boiled over in a pointed demand for transparency. We have a right to know who the board members are. We deserve answers and transparency. Parkview Christian Church is a large congregation, but in that moment, it felt like a close-knit family rallying around their ousted leader. Members who had invested years, even decades, in the church were now questioning the very leadership structure. One woman, who noted she had tithed at Parkview for 25 years, pleaded for the hidden decision-makers to show themselves. Identify yourselves, and let us ask all the questions, she urged the board. There was a growing sense that something was being kept from the congregation, and that did not sit well with people whose spiritual lives were deeply tied to Parkview's ministry. These were raw, real-time reactions, grief mixed with indignation. Some congregants described feeling blindsided and even gutted by the announcement. On Facebook, a member named Kristen wrote that she felt absolutely completely gutted to hear that Pastor Ted is leaving. She echoed what many were thinking. Since the church was adamant it wasn't a sin or a scandal that caused Ted's departure.
So now I know it's a very natural thing for people to wonder and speculate in situations like this, so let me just say this plainly. There's no scandal, there's no sin, there's no disparagement or disagreement over theology or teaching or anything like that.
Then what on earth was the reason? The lack of information was fueling speculation and a sense of betrayal. From the pews to social media, Parkview's community was crying out for clarity, and above all, for their pastor to stay. Within mere hours of Pastor Ted's surprise announcement, congregants began to mobilize in support of the man they felt was being unfairly removed. One member, David Heinrich, took the initiative to start an online petition demanding Pastor Ted's reinstatement. It was titled "Demand for the Reinstatement of Pastor Ted Max" as our lead pastor, and it struck a chord with the Parkview community. We stand in strong opposition against the unexpected removal of Pastor Ted Max from his position as lead pastor by a small group within the church board, the petition declared. In that single sentence, the petition voiced what hundreds were suspecting: that a small group on the board had pushed out a beloved pastor without the congregation's consent. It framed Ted Max not as someone willingly stepping away, but as a leader unjustly removed, and it channeled the congregation's frustration into action. By the following Tuesday, just 2 days after the petition launched, it had gathered over 1,100 signatures. That number represented hundreds of Parkview families united in protest. Many who signed added comments expressing their love for Pastor Ted and dismay at the board's decision. The sentiment was clear. The congregation wanted their pastor back, or at least a full explanation of why he had to leave. As the dust settled slightly, one pressing question lingered in everyone's mind. Why did this happen? If, as the board chair said, there was truly no scandal, no affair, no financial impropriety, no theological dispute, then what could drive a talented, devoted pastor out the door so abruptly? The no scandal narrative was supposed to reassure the congregation, but it almost had the opposite effect. It removed the obvious explanations and left a void of uncertainty. Into that void poured theories and conjecture. Was there a power struggle between Pastor Ted and certain board members? Did they clash over the church's vision, the budget, or staffing decisions? Perhaps Pastor Ted pushed for changes the board couldn't stomach, or vice versa. With so little transparency, Parkview's members were left to speculate in the dark. This isn't just about a pastor stepping down. It's about a board making decisions in silence while a congregation is left in the dark. Parkview, your people deserve answers. If there's truly nothing to hide, then stop hiding. Be transparent, be accountable, and start treating the church like the bride of Christ, which it is, not a private boardroom.